Good day, dear friends, juridical fans and the like. Welcome to this, our Lionel Legal live presentation to bring you up to speed on what will be probably the most comprehensive review of the Eric Adams case and why it matters. It's a fascinating case, but it must be explained to you in a way that most people do not care to employ because of the fact that it involves care and maintenance and time. And I have the time for you to go through this. It's a fascinating case. And in the meantime, what's great about it is that we get the chance to learn, you do, about criminal law, procedure, and the like. This is Lionel Legal. This is the accompanying version of our normal Lionel Nation channel, which you, of course, can subscribe to as well. But this is a little bit more legally and juridically minded. First of all, welcome and thank you, dear friends. I am a practicing licensed trial lawyer in the states of Florida, New York, and New Jersey, including the District of Columbia, the Southern District of New York, the Eastern District of New York. These are the federal courts. The Second Circuit, this is Court of Appeals. The New Jersey District Courts, and the Third Circuit Court of Appeal in there, as well as the U.S. Supreme Court. So those are the areas that I am licensed to practice in, and have been doing this since 1983. I graduated from law school in 83, passed the bar in 81st, Florida, and then that's it. And I am here to tell you that what you hear for the most part in terms of the law is a total waste of time. I don't understand why it's being done. And the worst case, the worst that I've seen heretofore, is that involving Diddy. We'll talk about that some other time. But this lawyer for him is just yapping his mouth off, and I don't understand why. But that's for a different story. This is a federal case, a federal case. Why do you want to make a federal case out of this? Because it's federal court. It's in the Southern District of New York, which is Manhattan, or Manhattan, as they say. It is considered the premier district. It covers, I think, New York, Manhattan, maybe Westchester, the Eastern District is Brooklyn, and it's got a lot of mob stuff. And then there's different federal districts. There's normally the middle district, the northern district, the southern district, depending upon the geography of your state. This could have been brought in state court, could have been brought in Florida, could have been or wherever it is, New York, California, but for some reason they thought, let's do it in federal court. And that normally means we like this. We want to make a statement. Crypto Domini, welcome, dear friend. Uncle Lenny, I am 19 and 83 years of age. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now, let's look at what this is. First and foremost, I submitted to you that if ever I am a little biased, being a resident of the city of New York. I will tell you that I think that Eric Adams is a cretin, an absolute 100% dyed-in-the-wool cretin. And I put up a little tweet before, which was, or an X, whatever the hell you want to call it. I thought this was rather funny in a strange way. And it said something to the effect, it said as follows. And it reads as this. There's a picture of him, and it says, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I represent Eric Adams. Our defense is simple. He is frankly too stupid to understand anything that is alleged in the indictment. I know that you may be unfamiliar with the stupid defense, but keep in mind, this is not insanity or diminished capacity or irresistible impulse. It is plain and simple, stupid. We therefore ask you to return a verdict of not guilty inasmuch as the government was unable to prove beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt Eric Adams had the requisite intellectual and cognitive wherewithal to know what the hell he's doing. In short, he's not guilty. He's just stupid. If you have any doubts, just take a look at him. Thank you very much. I say that in part humor, but unfortunately, stupid does not work as a defense. It only worked one time for me. Let me tell you this one, because just so that you know, there's insanity, diminished capacity, there's all this other kind of stuff. Insanity means it's called the McNaughton test. It doesn't mean you were insane. It means you didn't know the reason, or they didn't know the difference between right and wrong. And it never works. It never works. Everybody knows the difference between right and wrong. Typical case, let's say there's a person who's out of his mind, cray-cray, thoroughly lunatic crazed. Let's assume that the person sees a subway coming and pushes somebody in front of the subway. Why? Because he heard voices. Did he know right from wrong? Yes. Did he know it was wrong? Yes. Did he want? Yes. But he did it because why? Because the voices told him. Under the McNaughton rule, that wouldn't apply. Because he knew the difference between right and wrong. Sometimes people will cower. Sometimes they will run. Sometimes they will run from the police. So obviously they know something is wrong, but they think that maybe they're being pursued by alien forces or little pink men or whatever it is. So yes, they kind of sort of know the idea of right and wrong, but it's a different story. So this is something which I've always been very familiar with. There are some people who have, for purposes of, I guess, for years and years and years of having been themselves the victim of, let's say, sexual abuse from parents or from accosters, they will one day lose it and just basically have, they will just do someone in. And in my way of looking at it, I would say, they might be, how do I say this? They might be not technically crazy, but they just have had enough. And this is the abused spouse syndrome. This is the wife, for example, who has been beaten years after year, and then one day says, that's enough. That's enough. I've had enough. I'm through with this. I'm done with this. I'm going to, do this person in. Are they guilty? Well, technically speaking, because there is no defense. But are they guilty? Well, it's hard to say. So anyway, we'll get to that a little bit later. I did have a case one time where I had a client who was, in fact, stupid. Tell you why. It was a young man. I'll never forget. Mother and father came in, and he said, "I said, what do you have there?" My son's charged of burglary. I said, "Oh, okay. When's the next court date?" Tomorrow. I said, "Oh, tomorrow for an arraignment?" He goes, "No, sentencing." I said, "What? Sentencing? What do you mean sentencing?" "Yeah, he pled guilty." Wait. What? "What do you need me for?" And he says, "Tell him." And the kid said, "Mom," he goes, "Tell him." I said, "Well, tell me what?" And he said, "He is illiterate, can't read, and he's dyslexic." And I thought, well, how do you know you're dyslexic if you can't? Anyway, what happened was they gave him a piece of paper, they gave him a form to sign, and he was so embarrassed. He didn't know how to tell people that he couldn't read it because he was so embarrassed. He just signed it, and he pled guilty. So it was a motion to withdraw a plea. You never withdraw a plea. Never. You're wasting your time. Don't even try to do that. Thank you so much, OA. Appreciate it. You never withdraw a plea. Never. And the reason for it is this. There's got to be finality. You can't sit there and say, "You know what? I thought about this. I know I pled guilty, but, I didn't realize there'd be jail involved. You know what I'm doing? I'm going to change my mind." No. The court say, "Oh, no. That's why whenever you go to criminal court, they say, are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Did anybody promise you anything or threaten you in any way? Are you under the influence of any alcohol? Are you sure you want to plead guilty? Are you sure? Are you doubly sure? Are you really super duper sure? Did you talk to your lawyer? Are you really, really, really sure?" Yeah. Well, good luck later on trying to say, "You know what? I've been thinking about this, And no. So judge, of course, looked at this. He said, do you have a good reason why we're going to withdraw a plea of guilty on the day of sentencing? I said, yes. What? I said, may I approach the bench? This is true. This is God's honest truth. I said, Your Honor, I said, and the court reporter walked up and we waved her off. Like, no. I don't want you to hear this. No, okay. He said, listen. And so I knew the prosecutor and I knew the judge. I said, oh, listen, here's the story. I came in my office and he apparently signed this thing. He didn't know what the hell he was doing in the he's stupid or whatever it was. I said, but the guy didn't do it. In fact, we were going to do a deposition, and the cop showed up and says, hey, what are you doing here? He says, are you a witness? He says, no. I said, he's a defendant. The cop said, what? He's a defendant. He's not the defendant. He helped us. I said, well, numbnuts over here pled guilty. You what? Anyway, I said, Judge, look at him. So I pushed back like this. And the judge kind of leaned up a little bit and said, oh, see what you mean. I was successful. Not only did we have the plea withdrawn, but we had the whole thing dropped because he didn't have anything to do with it. So if you look at Eric Adams, he's just an idiot. Now that's not going to work. But he's a little boy who always wanted to be cool. He wants to be a player. And he hired all of he's got the biggest bunch of thugs and cretins and cronies and, oh my God, the Caban brothers. And I mean, this is the most stupid, I can handle a lot of things of like stupid. Why would you, these people are going to get you into trouble. Why? So in any event, the story is kind of interesting. It works like this. Eric Adams, the first and 110th mayor of, I think, the city of New York. First time ever in its history somebody's been charged with this. He was indicted for seeking and accepting numerous illegal benefits and campaign contributions from foreign nationals and businesses, notably involving international travel and luxury accommodations. He's a schmuck. For upgrades, you're looking at federal prison for upgrades, but it wasn't just, a couple of bucks here. It's a little bit different. The indictment details a very complicated scheme spanning nearly a decade, where Eric leveraged his rising political prominence, his star, for personal and campaign benefits. He violated federal and state laws in the process. In sum, this detailed indictment lays out a systematic and prolonged pattern of corruption, leveraging political influence for personal gain, while meticulously working to cover up legal activities, but not that meticulous, okay? This is a fascinating case. Why? Because he's a schmuck. He's a complete and total schmuck. I don't know how to tell you this any other way than to tell you he's a schmuck. That's my defense. Look at him. Ladies and gentlemen, look at him. Listen to him talk. Say something, Eric. He's a jadrul. So the FBI was investigating his connection to a number of illicit activities, including, number one, acceptance of luxury benefits. This is so Bush League. He consistently received what they call luxury travel perks, including first-class flights, stays at opulent hotels, extravagant entertainment. Primarily alleged, facilitated through Turkish officials and business people. Not the Russians this time. No. Turkish. Okay? Examples included free upgrades to business class on the Turkish airline for trips in 2016 to India and 2017 to France and China. Deeply discounted stays at high-end hotels such as the St. Regis, Istanbul, luxury transportation, and entertainment. What a schmuck. Why would you risk the rest of your life for this? What are you doing? You're an idiot. That's my defense. Look at him, ladies and gentlemen. Eric, say something. Look at him. Look at his friends. Look at his friends. Look at his crew. Look at these people. Look, say something. Their phylogeny, their karyotype looks like a Brussels sprout, but I. Number 2, illegal campaign contributions. It's alleged that Eric Adams sought and accepted illegal campaign funds from foreign nationals, and these funds were frequently laundered through U.S.-based straw donors to bypass federal laws that prohibit foreign influence in U.S. elections. People who pretend to be the donor. The Turkish official, in this particular one, who was instrumental in facilitating these illegal contributions and expecting political favors in return. Next, fraudulent matching funds. Adams allegedly exploited New York City's public matching funds program by falsely certifying straw donations as legitimate to fraudulently obtain over $10 million in public funds for his 2021 mayoral campaign. Pretty good, Number 4, undue influence and favoritism. Now listen to this. In return for these illegal contributions and personal benefits and the like, Eric Adams was purportedly granted political favors, including pressuring the FDNY, the Fire Department of New York, to bypass safety protocols to help the Turkish consulate open the Turkish House skyscraper, a significant and contentious project for Turkish diplomatic interests. They needed help. They said, listen, you got to help us out here. We got to get this thing up. We got to get it up by this for the president of this, and you got to help us. And Eric said, okay. So somehow it is alleged that Eric pulled strings and bypassed the usual protocol, perhaps, dare I say, putting people at risk, putting them in harm's way by facilitating and greasing the skids of an accelerated approval process. Okay, you got that? Number 5, subversion of financial disclosure. Eric Adams allegedly consistently failed to disclose the substantial benefits received from his foreign collaborators on mandatory city financial disclosure forms. He also created false, alleged, paper trails to mislead authorities and those investigating this about his payment for these luxuries. Number 6, a continued scheme after the election. Oh, his greed knows no end, putatively. After becoming mayor, Eric Adams continued to solicit illegal contributions for his 2025 re-election campaign, maintaining relationships with those who previously had funded him illegally while snubbing and rejecting and giving a stink eye to those who failed to meet their expected contribution rates. Number 7, conspiracy and bribery. Eric Adams, the mayor, is alleged to, he's facing multiple charges, including conspiracy to commit wire fraud, federal program bribery, and violations of campaign finance laws, inter alia, amongst other things. And number 8, obstruction of investigation. When the federal investigation surfaced Adams and his associates actively sought, it is alleged, to obstruct justice by attempting to conceal communications and evidence of their illegal activities from law enforcement. It was alleged, dear friends, that burner phones and the like were used, were implemented, were enjoyed, dare I say, that they were what am I saying? What am I doing? What am I? Who the hell am I? What am I trying to say? That they were used, and in fact, somebody was telling me that people were saying, "Hey, I'm trying to get a hold of Eric." Well, that number is no good. So this morning they showed up at 6 o'clock, taking all the burner phones. Now I can't go through this, dear friends, but everybody in this cabinet, they're all quit. Their phones are grabbed and they're quitting. And I mean, it is a mess. It is an utter mess. Unbelievable. I got to tell you about this thing called the Committee of Inability. This is the best. I love this one. This is called, I think it's called the Committee of Inability or something. Oh, hang on a minute. This is a really good one. This is a really good. Yeah, this is a good one. Yeah, you're going to enjoy this. Yeah, I got to tell you this story too. This one's even better. You just can't believe this. But let's go through more of the legal stuff and we'll get into this. Now, as a result of the statutory allegations and the aforementioned and blah, 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 the grand jury charges Mayor Eric Adams with 5 counts. Count number 1, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, federal program bribery, and to receive campaign contributions by foreign nationals from at least in or about 2015 through 2024. Eric Adams, the defendant, is alleged, and others known and unknown, to have willfully and knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together with each other to commit offenses against the U.S., to wit, wire fraud, soliciting, accepting, and receiving a campaign contribution by a foreign national, and bribery. This is what a conspiracy is. Do you, friends of the Lionel show, know what this means? I'll bet you hear that all the time. What is this? Some kind of conspiracy theory? Look, I don't want to bring up some conspiracy. You hear this all the time. Conspiracy, the word conspirare, to breathe with, to breathe together, where you and another person are involved in a new enterprise, almost like you're becoming individuals becoming Siamese twins. Chang and Eng are created. And in this confederation, this is the conspiracy. The law is violated merely by having the conspiracy. We don't even care whether the conspiracy ever even manifests itself. Was it ever successful? If you conspire to traffic in drugs, do you care? No, we were arrested right away. Or we were just on the phone. It's called a dry conspiracy. We just talked about it. It's the conspiracy itself. It is the agreement. That's the problem. That's what they're after. The law hates that. It's kind of like in Catholic catechism when they say, listen, if you thought about the sin, you might as well do it. There you go. Okay, so that's count 1. Count 1, of course, conspiracy to commit blah, blah, blah. Number 2, wire fraud. From 2018 to 2024, Eric Adams, knowingly having devised and intended to devise a scheme and artifice to defraud, and for obtaining money and property by means of false and fraudulent pretenses, representations, and promises, transmitted and caused to be transmitted by means of wire, radio, and television communication to interstate and foreign commerce, writings, signs, signals, pictures, and sounds For the purpose of executing such scheme and artifice. To wit, Adams participated in a scheme to fraudulently obtain matching funds for the Adams campaign. Okay. So it's kind of like, okay, you used the phone, you did it, and then you mailed a letter. Okay. You did it, and then you, I don't know. If you think about it, it's like almost like a derivative, and you said it. You use the molecules of the air. You use the atmosphere to okay. You use the pen to write. Yes, I understand. Number 3, solicitation of contribution by a foreign national. In 2021, Eric Adams knowingly and willfully solicited, accepted, and received, and aided and abetted and willfully caused the solicitation, acceptance, and receipt of a contribution and donation from a foreign national, and express and implied promises to make a contribution and donation in connection with a local election, to wit, mayoral elections in the city, aggregating $25,000 and more in a calendar year. Wow. No foreign nationals. Number 4, solicitation of contribution by a foreign national. 2023, Eric Adams, a defendant, knowingly and willfully solicited, accepted, and received, and aided and abetted and willfully caused the solicitation, acceptance, and receipt of a contribution and donation from a foreign national, and express and imply the promises to make a contribution. Number 5, bribery. From 2021 to 2022, Eric Adams being an agent of a local government, to wit, the city of New York, which in a 1-year period received benefits in excess of $10,000 under a federal program involving a grant, contract, subsidy, loan, guarantee, insurance, and other forms of federal assistance, corruptly solicited and demanded for the benefit of a person, and accepted and agreed to accept a thing of value from a person, intending to be influenced and rewarded in connection with business, a transaction, and a series of transactions of the city of New York involving a thing of value of $5,000 or more. To wit, Adams solicited and accepted free and heavily discounted, get ready, luxury travel benefits from the Turkish official. Dear God. In connection with the city of New York's regulation of the Turkish house located at 821 United Nations Plaza. And that's it. Chicken shite. Absolute chicken shite. Okay? Unbelievable. Now, let's talk about this man. Who is this man? Who is this Eric Adams dude? Who is he? What is he? What does he want? What is this all about? Oh, that's a great story. Let me see. Where do we start? Eric Adams issued a statement through his big powerhouse attorney, Alex Spiro. Powerhouse attorney. Powerhouse. If you've got a picture of me, okay, and I got a gun or something, I'm going bang, and I shoot somebody, you can get the powerhouse attorney. I don't care who you got. It's the facts of the case. The facts determine the case. I don't care who your powerhouse lawyer is. Sometimes it matters, sometimes, but trial law for this. I mean, the federal government has a lot of time to sit, and they're very, very thorough for the most part of being able, not that you're, public enemy number one, but they're very good as far as getting to the basis of something. Okay. So they always say powerhouse. He's a big shot, big shot attorney. So he made a video statement, and it said, and by the way, this Alex Spiro is representing Mr. Adams in a claim where he sexually assaulted a female cop decades ago. How nice, how quaint. But this is what Eric Adams said. My fellow New Yorkers, it is now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes If so, these charges will be entirely false, based on lies. But they would not be surprising. I always knew that if I stood my ground for New Yorkers, that I would be a target, and a target I became. If I am charged, I am innocent, and will fight this with every ounce of my strength, or strength, as people say, and spirit. Funny they say strength versus strength, length versus length. They also say height versus height. I don't know why they do that. It's like they also say mischievous and it's mischievous. I don't know why they say that either. So this began the launch of the federal, whatever. And he said, despite our pleas, when the federal government did nothing as its broken immigration policies overloaded our shelter system with no relief, I put the people of New York before party and politics. God. And he then added that public safety is not a problem. The public shouldn't worry about whether he can, continue being a mayor because, can you manage this? Because he says, I have been facing these lies for months. As I began to speak out for all of you, and this investigation started. So what he's saying is, in case you don't know this, in case you're not aware, what he's saying is, listen, when I started raising all kinds of holy hell about this lousy Biden administration and how they're basically overburdening and overtaxing our system, that's when they got at me. That's what this is about. They came at me with both barrels when I did this because I put them on notice, and I didn't play ball. See that story, okay? You buying that? And there's a portion of it that is not implausible, but it also helps if these are true that you did, secure all kinds of luxury things, and let me tell you something. It's a pain in the ass being in public service, and the routines. In any event, okay. So, it works like this. Moments after the news broke, the opponents for this started coming out of the woodwork. People calling for the resignation of Mr. Adams, as to members of the city council, the state senate, a lot of people. I hope our dear friend Curtis Rock Sliwa, maybe seriously considers running again. And this time, do not make feral cats a part of your platform. If you don't mind, I would appreciate that immensely. And the reason why is because nobody gets it, unless it's Springfield, Ohio. Then maybe, but you're going to walk out, with the whole beret thing. For those of you who don't know who are listening, Curtis Lewa is the generalissimo of an imaginary group of urban commandos called the Guardian Angels. The average age of them now deceased or in their 80s. They were very big in the 70s and 80s, and they were a big deal then. And anyway, Curtis, I've known Curtis. I consider him a friend. He's one of the smartest people around. Plays this kind of Hunts Hall, Leo Gorsey thing. And basically, I think last time was set up as kind of like not as a patsy, but as a kind of like a placeholder, pretend, so that Eric could get in. Because I think everybody just saw this Judge Rule, and they salivated. Oh man, remember when Eric did you see when Eric first came on board? Go ahead, Eric, come on, we'll take you to Rayo's. What? Yeah, Rayo's. There are people who, Rayo's, it's a very nice place. This is Ellen and I have been there many times before, but it's this place that used to be, when Frank Pellegrino was alive. It was the most exclusive place in, East Harlem, Spanish Harlem. It's been there forever, and hey, here we are with my friend, the mayor. Everybody's, oh, and hey, listen, we're going to throw a party for you, a fundraiser in the Hamptons. The Hamptons, yeah. You like me? Of course we do. All these white hedge funders and builders. Yeah, Eric, you're one of us now, right, buddy? Yeah, And I'm thinking, oh God, this guy's such a schmuck. Did you see him at the fashion, whatever it was? He's dressed up like a fool. I mean, he just wanted so much, to be taken seriously. You know, just a schmuck. I mean, I swear to God, that's my defense. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, he's a schmuck. Come on, stop it. Let the guy go. Kathy Hochul could force him out, or something called the Inability Committee, which is made up of the city controller. By the way, if you ever see the word comptroller, please don't. Please don't ever use that word. Comp, it's controller, like it's C-O-N. I know what it says. I know. I'm telling you, just do me a favor. Don't do it. For the love of God. For the love of God, don't. It's controller. Anyway, but the Inability Committee, according to the charter, as the city controller, city council speaker, deputy mayor, and the longest serving borough president. Now, remember, the charter also picks Jumaane Wilson as the successor. He's the public advocate. Nobody knows what the public advocate is. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what in the hell the public advocate is. And Jumaane Wilson, he would be put in there, and he has to have a special election in 80 days. He makes the judge rule. He makes Eric look like Frank Rizzo in comparison. Okay, so this is a disaster for New York. It's like, oh my God, what are you kidding me? In any event, so going back to this. Now, if he were to leave again under Jumaane Wilson is the Williams, I keep saying Wilson. Williams is the controller. And a special election would be held to elect a new mayor. Okay. Scott Stringer comes forward and he says, the mayor needs we got to do this. He needs to resign, of course, because Scott Stringer is running. His legal fight is not our fight, blah, 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 blah. And the mayor's got to worry about all this stuff. Brad Lander, the controller, who's also running against the Judge Rule, he would serve on the Inability Committee if he were tapped. Okay. Let me see. All right. Now, a little bit of history. Okay. By the way, are we having fun? Are we having fun? Be honest with you. Doesn't Uncle Lenny tell a good story? Did you ever think it would be this interesting? When you heard about this, did you say, I don't give a damn about Eric Adams? But no, aren't you mesmerized by this? Yes, it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. It's something that just, anyway. Let me go back to my notes here. Okay. Eric Adams is the first mayor in New York City's history to be indicted while in office. I think Jimmy Walker? Not Jimmy J.J. Walker. Dynamite. No, Jimmy Walker was 1930 or something. I think he called up the clerk and said, I'm out of here. And he just quit. 32 or something. Anyway, but this is the first time. He was sworn in as the 110th mayor in the first moments of 2022. Remember that? Blank with supporters and all his friends, and he was the second African American. There was this David Dinkins, a great guy, incompetent mayor, but a wonderful, wonderful man. And the investigation by the Southern District allegedly first became public about a year ago on November the 2nd. Do you remember this? Anybody remember November the 2nd? Do you remember what happened that day? Any of you fine folks? I do, like it was yesterday. It was fascinating. On November the 2nd, Brianna Suggs, who was Eric Adams' top political advisor, her Brooklyn home was raided. I said, wait a minute, hold it. The mayor had just arrived in Washington, D.C., for a meeting about asylum seekers after he basically told everybody bitching and moaning and complaining. And he turned around and said, I'm going back. He said, I got a matter. He turned around and went right back. I mean, he was on a train, he took the Amtrak, turned around, came right back. The probe then supposedly or theoretically centered around campaign coordinated with Turkish-linked groups. Remember this one? Turkish. What? And companies and people who were, okay, you know the routine. Now, that same day, about 100 or so FBI agents took off and scoured and fanned out across the area, the fruited plains of Gotham, and they executed search warrants at about 10 or 12 or a dozen or so locations, including the homes of Rana Abbasova. And by the way, let me give you, there is a wonderful, if I could give you a reference, I'm going to give you a wonderful reference of this. There is a document called, a place called The City. It's thecity.nyc. Great source. Great piece written by Katie Honan, Greg Smith, Gwen Hogan, and Yoav Gonen. It's wonderful. This came out yesterday. The City. It's called Mayor Eric Adams Indicted by Federal Grand Jury. In fact, let me give you this link. It is superb. And I want to give always a shout out to great reporting. And they are superb. So this is the link, please. It provides a wonderful background story and a lot of these names. And it's just a wonderful little adumbration, a very precise little précis of, dare I say, a prolegomenon for those of you who are so interested in this. Okay. So let me see, where are we? This and that. Sorry. Let me go back to where we were. Got all kinds of, so many pages open. And anyway, well, hang on. Let's go. This, November. Okay. Yes, it's 100. Okay. So the same day, November the 2nd, they went to the homes of a Rana Abbasova, who is Eric Adams. He has more liaison to the Turkish community. He's got, I think it was, what's her name? Greco, liaison to the Asian community. I'm a liaison to this community, but the liaison to the Turkish community, who knew, was Rana Abbasova, and Turkish Airlines executive Cenk, or Cenk, C-E-N-K, just like junk yogurt, the young turds, Turks. Anyway, Cenk Okal, who served on Adams' transition team. Okay. Then later, they grab Eric's phone, Eric Adams' own phones, personal devices, temporarily seized. He goes, wait a minute. He's walking his, they let me have your phone. And then later, again, this wonderful article, they report that they reported on many of the donations to Turkish nationals. Where this Turkish thing came from is incredible. Let me go back to this. Including $10,000 apparently was made from employees of the Bay Atlantic University, which is a Turkish-owned institution, I guess, out of Washington. There was this KSK Construction. Anyway, both involved targets or subjects of federal investigations. Now, according to folks who investigated this, the city had asked, apparently, Eric Adams about these donations, and he didn't really get around to it. Now, then the New York Times reported this week that the feds had expanded the probe to look at his connections to 5 other countries. Get this: Israel, China, Uzbekistan, Qatar, and South Korea. Now, Eric has visited, apparently, according to this great article by The City and others, Turkey at least 6 times, including when he was Brooklyn Beep borough president. And when he was on those trips, he met with university folks from Bay Atlantic. The feds also looked into maybe a list, some kind of an internal list or something that might have expedited. And this is important. Federal inspections. This is something that gets you. Hey, I need to get these towers up quick. Okay. All right. Now, the investigation, according to this, into Adams and his quote inner circle. And by the way, they're all, if they didn't quit, they're on their way out or something. But anyway, Adams' inner circle has grown, as you can imagine, expansively, exponentially. And it's gotten 2 deputy mayors, a police commissioner, the mayor's Asian affairs advisor, top aide, longtime friend, goes crazy. On the 29th of February, leap year, obviously, the feds raided 2 Bronx homes owned by Winnie Greco, longtime volunteer, and here we go, liaison to the city's Asian American community. A lot of liaisons. You notice how this works? Isn't it fantastic? A lot of liaisons. Okay. Wait a minute. Susan C said, I love saying Uzbekistan. Yes, me too. It's wonderful. You remember when Qatar, what was Qatar? Remember when Beijing was Peking? When Turkey now is Turkey? Faye, did you say Bo Dietl? I don't know why you did that. Bo Dietl, fine actor, much heralded New York City cop, retired, and great friend of Bo's. Used to be pictures of, hey, we're at Rayo's. That Rayo's really carries a lot of weight. It's good, but whatever. Anyway, where did I leave off? Okay, so February was Winnie Greco. That same month, Eric became the target of a sexual harassment notice of claim regarding a lawsuit. Okay, then you bring in Spiro. Now, on then September, again, the great folks at the city, can't say it enough, great local online reportage. They were the first to report that first deputy mayor, now dig this, Sheena Wright, and her fiance, schools chancellor David Banks. So when you're the schools chancellor, remember Rudy Crew years ago? When you're the school chancellor of New York, whoa. So you've got first deputy mayor, Sheena Wright, and her fiance, David Banks, school chancellor. They lived together in Harlem, and they had their home raided and their electronic devices seized. At the same time, you following this? Philip Banks, well, this guy's a piece of work. Philip Banks, the deputy mayor for public safety. Remember, he was, that's all, I'm not going to get to. Anyway, anyway, Philip Banks, who was a deputy mayor for public safety, and David Banks' brother. You got this? You got David Banks, Philip Banks, and you got Sheena. You got that? You following this? Okay. So Philip Banks, the deputy mayor, also had his phone seized at his Queens home. Then a third Banks brother, wait a minute, hang on, Terrence Banks, also had his phone seized by the Fed, by authorities, along with now this is when it gets really good, former police commissioner Edward Caban, and wait for it, his twin brother James, himself a former cop. And then weeks later, Edward Caban, the commissioner, resigned and was replaced by interim police commissioner, now wait a minute, Thomas Donlan, hang on, who looks like Elliot Ness. He was former FBI, who this week had his phone, his home raided for documents from 20 years ago. Not done yet. Then we get, this is the inner circle. Tim Pearson, he's a longtime friend. This guy, another shady one. Tim Pearson, a longtime buddy of Adam, and senior advisor working on the migrant response, had his phones seized. I mean, just the bags of the phones. Since the raids, there's been this deluge, this tsunami of Adams' administration resignations, people leaving. Lisa Zornberg, who was the chief counsel, said, listen, If you don't cut ties with PATRIOT, I'm out of here. She's gone. David Banks, whose phones were seized, announced, by the way, I'm leaving the school at the end of the year. Health Commissioner Ashwin Vasan said, I'm leaving in January. And last November, the mayor, when asked about this, defended his administration and said, look, this is, we're following the laws, and what are you going to do? Look, everybody knows that there's been, questions, and there have been claims of corruption. Remember during was it during the Koch administration, what was his name, the parking meter, whatever this, anyway. But never has the mayor been charged. So who is this guy Eric? Okay, interesting. He's born in Brooklyn. I don't think he's married. I think he had I forget his private life. That's his business. But he's born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens, and he first gained prominence as a cop who looked to reform the NYPD from the inside, because he often said that he joined the department when, after he was assaulted by police officers of the 103rd, the 103 in Jamaica, Queens, when he was arrested as a team. Now, the arrest, however, has never been confirmed, and Adam sometimes allegedly offers different versions of the story, but what are you going to do? And then once he joined the force, now wait a minute, get this, he co-founded, this was really good, 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care. 100 Blacks. This is the name of not black men, black policemen, 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care, and was also the former chair of the Grand Council of Guardians. It sounds almost like the Grand Poobah or something. I asked him one time, I said, when I was on WABC, I said, so if I were a cop and I wanted to join this organization of 100 cops, could I join? No, because I'm not black, right? Right. What if I had white cops? Well, that's different. 100 Blacks in law enforcement. And then his outspokenness about police brutality, he said, made him the target of a lot of cops, friends of his who didn't like him, harassment. And when he ran for mayor, he told the group from the city that he was shot in 1996. And so he spent 22 years with a cop. His stepping down and his files and being sealed, that's another story. And then he ran for state senate, and he was elected borough president and whatever it is. So that's our man. That's our guy. That's Eric Adams. And he is, for the longest time. Now remember, everybody is presumed innocent. You know that, right? Everybody is presumed innocent. And that's not just an expression. It's true. It's fundamental to our way of thinking. But everybody knows this guy's as shady as, come on. Look at this group. Look at this. The Caban brothers. There was all kinds of suggestions that if you had a problem with, let's say you had a nightclub, and you were given various citations. That's a citation is like a good thing. A citation for underage drinking. Yay! You would go to one of the Caban brothers, and they would, grease, whatever, make it go away. If Jumaane Williams takes over as mayor, we're doomed. New York is a wonderful place. I don't care what anybody says. There is nothing like it. I love New York. I've been here forever. I tell people I'm a native New Yorker, born elsewhere. I love the city. I love the people. At its worst, I love it. There are times when I want to weep. I think anybody who knows this, when you're coming in from the airport, LaGuardia or Kennedy, and you're coming in the Midtown Tunnel, and you just see this, oh my God. You just see this, the skyline. It's just, oh, beautiful. sometimes on the 59th Street Bridge. One morning it was going to the airport, so cold. It was so cold, but it was crystal clear. You saw the lights and you could see a building. You go on the West Side Highway, you're driving what used to be all the Trump Towers, and you look, and just in one little short swath, there are more people stacked up in this one little section than in some cities. It's an incredible place. I love the excitement. I love the boroughs. I love the food. I love the history. I love it. And it deserves so much better than this. It deserves. And the greatest mayor was Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani was phenomenal. And for everything that Rudy did wrong, because Rudy now, I don't know if Rudy's going crazy or whatever he's doing, but I loved the man. And it was so safe. It was something that was so wonderful. And he taught people how to run a city. They had something called the broken windows policy. It's Wilson and I forget the other guy's name. And the idea is that you go after quality of life issues. It's called the broken window policy. Broken window, because if you have a building on a street and the windows remain broken, it sends a message to people that you don't care about the city. You don't care. And they would get people for jumping turnstiles, for people who would be urinating, in hallways or whatever. And believe it or not, the people that they were stopping who were urinating and jumping, whatever, doing this stuff and open container laws, they all had warrants. And it cleaned it up. You could, in the old days, during Rudy, you could go to Times Square. You could be around there at 3 o'clock in the morning, walk around with a $100 bill, and nobody would bother you. I mean it. Cops were present. They had the Hercules squads, these people walking around. They look like, God, don't even try it. Anybody remember the wonderful world of the squeegee people? Oh, God, why they haven't made it back? I have no idea. Every now and then the New York Post would say, they're back. You'd come out of the Lincoln Tunnel, Holland Tunnel, Lincoln mostly, and these degenerates would walk up with this pail. There's nothing in the pail, and a squeegee. There's no water. There's no nothing. It would smear your... And basically they would say, give me $5 or whatever it is, and I'll go away. Here, let me do it. No, get away. No, let me... And if they don't like it, they maybe would bend your windshield wiper or smear your window. People were going crazy with it. They said, this has got to stop. Rudy says, oh, you don't like that? Yeah. Like that. Gone. I think they were lobotomized and put in some kind of a gulag, some island somewhere. They were just gone. Just gone. Overnight. Gone. Gone. Done. Then there was aggressive panhandling. Hey, anybody in New York remember the Greek diner cup, the Parthenon? It was that blue cup, the official cup of... They go like this, and they would scare people. Sometimes maybe you go to an ATM, or there'd be some guy in there. It's like, what is this? Oh, gone, ended, finished, done. They were the night. Thank you very much. How are you? Have a nice day. They didn't even ask for anything. They just were nice to you. Hi, how are you? What do you want? Nothing. I just want to say hi. How are you? Really? That's it. Okay. One time a friend of mine was walking by and he just finished some business deal or something, some particular event. He was feeling particularly prosperous one day. So he was walking down the street and there was a fellow who was standing with it was like a construction site. It was a worker, but he looked like a bedraggled. And he's got his hand out like that. It was a cup. So my friend walks by and goes, what the hell? So he reaches in and drops in the quarter and he hears, and he goes, hey, it's my coffee. Anyway, very funny at the time. Rudy was great. September the 10th, Rudy, they hated his guts. September the 11th, Rudy, he was a hero. It's the greatest thing anybody's ever seen. He was magnificent. Greatest mayor you've ever seen. He lived. He was just nobody commanded authority. He was the greatest. He made somebody a promise. He said, I'm going to walk you down the aisle for her wedding. I don't know who it was or what the circumstances were, but Rudy said, damn it, I told you I'm going to do it, and I'm going to keep my word. And he did. And lo and behold, when she got married that time, he decided, I'm gonna do the right thing. And he had this truck, and this big SUV, and he changed it to his tux and walked her down the aisle, and then went back and got back into his. It was at the time of 9/11, and I was here. Mrs. Eld and I were here on that Tuesday morning. I will never forget that as long as I live. It changed my life, ladies and gentlemen. It changed my life. It red pilled me IV style. It changed my life. I have never, ever been the same. It was this wake up. It was a wake up call. And I realized all this stuff about politics and who's about, it doesn't matter. I saw things which maybe on my private channel I talk about, but I saw things that I've never seen in my life. And I saw that. And what I say is simply this: if you want to be the mayor, be the mayor. If you want to steal, we'll kill you. We'll cut them off. We'll hand them back to you. If I was a mayor, I would worry about things like potholes, lights, garbage, quality of life, rats, and regular things, stuff that really matters, schools, and that's what you do. That's what governance is. Don't give me this business about Reagan says, I'm from the government. No, the government's good. We need to go. Nobody's going to fix lights and fix potholes. No, nobody. So that, my friend, is my peroration, my adumbration, my review of what's going on. Mr. Adams is presumed innocent. I continue to talk later on about Diddy. The Diddy story is peeling away the scab of a wound that is so horrid. I don't think you can realize. I don't think you understand or can grasp how bad it is. I really don't think so. I don't think you can. It is so disgusting what it does and how it's showing how things work. It's beyond horrible. And people like Justin Bieber, what they did to that kid, he won't say. It is horrid. Absolutely horrid. While we're at it, if you don't mind, on our other channel, the other channel, as you know, is something called Lionel a Nation. And there was something I want to bring to your attention, which is kind of a different subject matter, but it's called Pact for the Future. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you're watching this, here's the link to this. Please watch this now. There was a piece of legislation, a proposed legislation that was passed this week at the UN General Assembly, UNGA. It is globalism turbocharged. It is the worst. Whatever you do, pray to God that this is stopped, that we have nothing to do with this. And I hope you don't mind me saying this. But the secret to the continued success of my republic is this man, this great man here. His name is Donald Trump. You ever heard of him? He's pretty doggone good. Donald John Trump. And he may be a lot of things to you. But to me, he is the only chance that we have. He's the only chance that we have. And let me also tell you something. Think of him as a chemotherapy for a cancer. Chemotherapy that is horrible and disruptive and that you would normally never use or come into contact with unless and until you ever, God forbid, come into that particular instance. Do not misunderestimate, as George Bush would say, what's going. We have about right now 39 or so days until the election. And let me just make this as clear as I possibly can make it. If for some reason, if for some reason Guatemala wins, if for some reason this woman were to win, if Donald Trump were to be denied re-election, this country is over with. It is over. And you can reject that. You can think it's exaggerating. This woman, and it's not so much she is a sock puppet, a windsock. She's an auto pen. I will leave you with that. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you. And for those who contributed so kindly, Susan C., OA, Crypto Domini, thank you. Thank you. For those who contributed, I appreciate it. For those of you who didn't, I will haunt you upon my death and walk through your home in the middle of the night with chains to pay you back for that. I'm kidding, of course, sort of. All right. I'll be back at 7 p.m. on the other channel, Lionel Nation. And I want to thank you for being a part of this. And as I normally end my particular transmissions with this valedictory, I always say the monkey's dead, the show's over, sue ya.